must have been out your hair. I hold deep in muddy waters. You practically raised the dead.
face of an angel, pretty eyes that shine. I lie awake at night, wishing you were mine. I'm standing here holding the biggest heartache in town. Whenever you come around, I get weak in the knees and I lose my breath. Oh, I try to speak, but the words won't come. I'm so scared to death. And when you smile, that smile, the world turns upside down.
Must be a million boys living in a great big city. I know that one of them is just right for me. I look up, down, 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 all around searching. I know he's out there waiting for me. I know somewhere somebody
Along looking for somebody,
somewhere somebody
someone to
waiting
comfort
for me. Somewhere somebody's
Free.
searching, praying. Tell me what in the world. You know the street lights shine in passing faces.
Waste my time.
I'm just trying to catch somebody's eye. But all that should have been, the would have been, might have been, and the could have been, are slipping away. And they walk right on by. I know somewhere somebody
along looking
is
for somebody,
somewhere somebody
someone
waiting
comfort
for me. Somewhere somebody
free.
searching, praying. Tell me what in the world. I walk through the rain that's falling, a voice in the distance calling mine. I run through an empty doorway, waiting for the sun to shine. When will love be mine? I know that somewhere somebody's looking, longing, somewhere somebody waiting for me. Somewhere somebody searching, praying. Tell me where in the world.
Gonna keep on.
Somewhere somebody's looking, longing. Somewhere somebody's waiting for me. Somewhere somebody's searching, praying. Tell me where in the world. Must be a million boys living in a great big city.
I know you're out there.
I know he's out there waiting for me. This is my opening farewell.
Bueno. Okay.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for attending this morning here at the conference centre in Seville. We feel extremely proud to be able to hold small, medium-sized and large events of all types. But what's really important now is for Seville, the challenge we face as a society, and also to address the different commitments that we've undertaken as a city and as a region. Let me begin by extending some special thanks to the ability and to organise this type of an event together with an institution that we feel proud of. The European Commission, we are proud of our collaboration with them and specifically with the Joint Research Centre. The Joint Research Centre is one of the jewels that we feel proud of here in Seville. And in this regard, please allow me to thank the director Miguel Landabasso, who, together with all of his team, have dedicated maximum interest and dedication to the organisation of events of this nature here in Seville. And why are we here today? Well, we're here today because we want to talk about Europe. We want to talk about the major global challenges and how we can tackle them. And we would like to focus on this very difficult historical moment, a transcendental moment in our history. A period that we're trying to get through, given the tremendous impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this European mandate began with a firm commitment, a transformational commitment, a groundbreaking commitment on the part of European institutions, specifically the Commission and its President Ursula von der Leyen. So it was embraced as a major challenge for the consolidation and analysis of the European project, and at the same time it was done taking on board global challenges that Europe has to address and which affect our planet. And given the time in history that we find ourselves in, and also the beginning of this European mandate, it's important to mention that these were decisive years. What occurs between 2020 and 2030 will to a certain extent change some of the negative trends that had been observed regarding the evolution of global problems such as climate change or the digital gap, as well as problems of social inclusion in places where the population is concentrated in a greater proportion and where some of the most serious problems of inequality can be found. So, to address this commitment, President von der Leyen said two magic words: Green Deal. And we picked up the baton in all corners of Europe and we decided to get down to work. Because political agendas, political priorities were reoriented towards this great European deal, the Green Deal, to allow us to take decisions so that Europe's territories can be truly transformed. Not just transformed, but also advance in the fight against social inequality, and also transformation through a commitment to sustainability and the need to resolve the major problems that a development model that was clearly highly negative for human beings, the planet, was having. So the idea was to take full advantage of the technological changes we're immersed in and ensure that the speed of that change would place Europe at the forefront as one of the leading territories driving progress and advancement in the coming years to create a fairer society and to position ourselves at the same time more strongly on the international stage. So with these three main challenges, all European institutions and all European institutions have set out our government proposals at all levels, from European level right down to local government. And it's particularly important at local government level, where year to year we've not just tried to vindicate the importance of the European project and also the importance of local government in those projects, but also the success of European project objectives can also be consolidated if we as government representatives can assume this responsibility and ensure a stronger application and implementation of European policy. You'll all know that we've been firmly committed to being involved in this. We are a European region that fulfills its obligations, but also tried to guarantee rights for Seville citizens, and we tried to transmit our responsibility in that sense and also our challenges. We want to be at the forefront of the objectives that we feel proud to embrace as Europeans. So we embrace the Green Deal in our urban policy. The urban plan for Seville 2030 is the 2030 plan, the 2030 agenda. It transforms European policy at local level to channel the most important investments in the coming years to foster the most important political decisions and also help us to foster transformation to become a technology-based territory, generating more opportunities, which is something that we've tried to do in the past, we will continue to do, not just now, but also in the future. So, as she said, President von der Leyen, when we saw that we were immersed in this tremendous problem of the pandemic, we had to ensure that these would continue to be the objectives. And the fight and the struggle to conquer and overcome the virus shouldn't make us lose sight of the targets and objectives that we'd set for citizens in the coming years. This decade, 2020-2030, will largely determine what we will be able to do over the next 30 or 40 years. The magnitude of the changes and the decisions that are taken now, as well as the actions that are implemented, will determine what Europe we end up with. We can have territories with greater or less capacity to tackle the future. So the challenge is even greater. We have to successfully combat the pandemic. We have to contain the economic and social impact of the damage that the pandemic is causing, and at the same time combine this without losing sight of the objectives we'd set for the coming years. So this requires us to redouble our efforts in terms of the European budget for its states and for each of its territories. So for this reason, the European Commission and the Member States have been up to the task with levels of social and economic investment higher than there's ever been in the history of Europe, so that the economy is able to tackle these social changes and the growing inequality that the pandemic's impact is having on both health and economies and at social level. So we should never lose sight of the fact, quite the opposite, we should always try to focus our resources on addressing these global challenges as we were doing before the pandemic. So making both issues compatible is the big challenge. We have to be able to dedicate the necessary funds for social and economic recovery to generate wealth. And in this case, allow us to narrow the inequality gap. And that is our big challenge as a society. And that is why we are here today. Because the European Commission's president did not just drive that decision to generate these funds for recovery geared to achieving the objectives of sustainability, social inclusion, digitalization. But she also laid down an additional challenge, transform this major transformation and this major economic and social movement into a creative movement as well. A movement which, as has occurred in other times in history, will mean that society can also channel its creative capacity and skills to undertake this change and thus leave a footprint in history as has occurred in other times in our history in Europe in times of transformation and change, with a great vision to project to the future. And I think the European Commission and its president has set out some lines of action that we have to follow. It's not just about numbers, it's not just about economic resources. This is a historic opportunity for Europe to travel into the future with a change of mindset, which will entail a change of behaviors and a profound change in values and principles that the society has to move forward and to develop its vital and its essential needs. And that's why we're here today, because we believe that Seville has to be a benchmark, a reference in this transformation, a place of collective reflection to foster an intellectual, cultural and creative movement which will accompany the objectives for economic recovery and also social inclusion that we all pursue. And that is why we're meeting here today. Europe is built by reflecting, sharing opinions. Europe is not just a common vision based on different ideological and political projects. It is a society-based project. It is a project precisely for society. For example, the initiatives from the Parliament, from the Committee of Regions, from all territories in the Union, well, this spirit has to be continually renewed, listening to the opinions of each territory to ensure that this becomes the day-to-day life of each citizen and has its corresponding impact. So we're here today with a series of roundtables to address a series of very important qualitative topics in the European Union. A group of experts, a group of scientists who, within the European Union, perform studies and diagnoses about the potential scenarios that we may have to deal with in the future. And this is something which should also orient investment policy in this regard. At this moment in time, throughout the whole of Europe, and in particular in Spain and Seville, we are thinking about the best way to use the economic recovery funds and how we're able to consolidate the objectives of the Green Deal to ensure that those objectives become the objectives of each local government in Spain. We're doing this in Seville through private initiative, and we're doing this also in coordination with other administrations. And we're doing this from what I would not call the main decision-making position, which is often the weakest link in the chain, the one that's closest to citizen, but one which often suffers from fewer resources. Often it's necessary to have more resources to increase our decision-making capacity, and this is something which will come to the fore in this forum. We will analyze these objectives and see how we can materialize these projects. And we will hear firsthand this morning, through real examples, representatives of regional and local government, about the objectives, the major objectives that we have to address, so that we're able to put into practice many of our initiatives and turn them into a reality. Thank you for your attendance, and we'll begin this forum this morning. I would like to thank all of the participants for being here in person, and of course, this is largely a virtual event, which is unfortunately the way we have to organize many things today. So for those of you who are following us via streaming and who are going to follow the program, you can also look back over the next couple of days if you wish to view any of the videos. And I would like to thank Miguel for his excellent coordination work, bringing in qualified experts and specialists who you'll have the opportunity to listen to in the two round tables. So I officially inaugurate the event with no less the person who inspired and drove this political initiative. And I think it's something that we should feel proud of as European citizens, as somebody who has had the courage to ensure and recognize that we're passing through a critical stage for the 2020-2030 period. So I'll leave you in the capable hands of the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who's also congratulated us for organizing this space for debate precisely here in Seville, so that Seville can also lead its European commitment precisely from this place. Thank you.
Dear mayors, representatives of European local governments, thank you, Mayor Espadas, for inviting me. It is such a pleasure to participate in your event. I was very happy when I learned about your interest in the new European Bauhaus. That's a project that is very dear to my heart. This pandemic changes the way we live and we work. It changes our perspective on many things. But in every crisis also lies an opportunity. And this pandemic is an opportunity to rethink how we want to live together and how we want to deal with nature. We have to respect better the boundaries of our planet. Tackling climate change and caring for our environment requires us to rethink the way we live. That is why the European Union has made the European Green Deal a priority. And the new European Bauhaus movement is intended to be a bridge between the world of science and technology and the world of art and culture. It will combine good design with sustainability. The new European Bauhaus should not only promote visions, but also very tangible products. So if we do it right, the new Bauhaus will bring the European Green Deal closer to people's minds and homes. The new European Bauhaus will demonstrate that the necessary can also be beautiful. And we all know good design can improve lives. The new European Bauhaus will be a think and experiment space. It is, for example, about natural building materials or energy efficiency, demographics, but also smart mobility or digital innovation, you just name it. All of these are also topical issues for the local and regional authorities. Our aim is to shape the world of tomorrow. This more sustainable, beautiful, and humane world has to be built in 10,000 places, between Vilnius and Sevilla, between Dublin and Sofia. And that is why we want to have all of you on board. Your region, your city, your community can be part of this movement. We want to shape the concept for this unique project in a co-creation process, together with all interested citizens, organizations, and stakeholders. Europe has an incredible cultural wealth that we want to tap. We are only at the beginning of this project, but the design phase of the new European Bauhaus will start soon. Stephen Quest, Director General of the Joint Research Center, will provide more details soon, and I will personally accompany this project very closely. And I'm very much looking forward to your input and your ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bueno, como puede.
So, as you have heard, the President of the European Commission's commitment to this process and strategic orientation and guidance is crucial for us to understand what we're talking about and how we can join this process in an active and enriching way. As she said, it's about seeing how the Green Deal challenge can be incorporated with a global, all-encompassing concept which will foster the evolution of society towards a movement in which society incorporates and embraces new values, which will give rise to a stronger, more solid Europe based on much firmer principles. In this respect, we're extremely fortunate, as the President mentioned, to see that the work that's carried out by the Joint Research Centre for the European Commission, how all of the Centre's work is going to be crucial in coming years, not just to guide the process now, but also investment processes and also political decisions as well, but also allow us to assess those decisions so that we can follow a process in which we can permanently place the emphasis on and monitor the most intelligent decisions necessary to foster change in this process. So it's a luxury for Spain to have one of the 5 headquarters of the Joint Research Centre in Europe, and it's a very special centre indeed for the European Commission, the Seville Joint Research Centre. You probably know that the presence of this centre in Seville since 1992, its location in the Cartuja Scientific and Technology Park is a crucial asset, not just for the present, but also the future. It associates the image of our city with the European commitment. It allows us to work hand in hand with a decision-making centre or institution of the European Union. Centres and units which are coordinated in different points of Europe so that we can foster decision-making in each member state in the European Union, and this is crucial for us. So on this journey we would like to associate Seville's image continually with the Green Deal challenges and the challenges of the new European Bauhaus. And we have the opportunity to listen to the Director General of the European Commission's Joint Research Centre, Stephen Quest.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Espadas, dear mayors, dear speakers, panelists, ladies, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me at the launch of this event, and a particular thanks to Mayor Espadas for hosting this third local government forum, and this session in particular, and for his really very inspiring words of welcome. I'm obviously also very grateful for our President, Ursula von der Leyen, for her message. I think her words were loud and clear. Both the recovery from the corona pandemics and the challenges of the Green Deal form part of the same European endeavour now, which is all about shaping a sustainable future for the places we live in. And President von der Leyen has underlined that the Green Deal and its articulations and this transformation towards a circular economy and the renovation wave is not only an environmental or an economic challenge, it also has to become a new cultural project for Europe. The new European Bauhaus wants to make the Green Deal a cultural, a human-centred, a positive, touchable experience. And this initiative wants to tap into the hopes and the possibilities that our upcoming transition can bring, building a better future together. And here I think lies the power of places, of cities, of towns, of villages, of communities, because thanks to local policymakers, global challenges can be felt and touched where citizens live, where they play, where they work and laugh, and even where they get angry. And I think these challenges materialize in places, and economic, social, environmental challenges integrate and overlap with each other. And therefore the response must also be comprehensive, must be harmonious, must be place-based. It must not generate trade-offs between competing policies of objectives, but win-wins. And I believe that the new European Bauhaus reinforces this vision. It wants to connect different realities. Solutions to climate and environmental challenges should not only be looked at from a scientific or an engineering perspective, new thinking comes as well from breaking silos and from connecting dots. So the new European Bauhaus would like to facilitate the collective knowledge of people all around Europe to create an interdisciplinary project. 100 years ago, starting off with art and craft, one of the most influential design movements to Bauhaus was created around the motto, "The form follows the function." And now for the 21st century, we need a new design movement to revisit the way we shape the spaces where we live and the way we live in them. Function is no longer good enough. Form should also follow the planet if we want better spaces for better living. It's all about people, spaces, functions and form all in one place. So the key design challenge of this new European Bauhaus is to articulate in an innovative way three complementary dimensions: sustainability, which includes circularity, quality of experience, including aesthetics, and inclusiveness, which must also include affordability. How can we nurture and support the development of such a movement? Where should we focus our attention? I think these are the questions that we now need to focus on. We certainly have a very high ambition. And as the President said, the new European Bauhaus will be a think and a do tank, a design lab, a deep demonstrator, an accelerator, a network at the same time, a creative and an interdisciplinary movement convening at a space of encounter to design future ways of living situated really at the crossroads between art and science and culture. And the ambition is to promote creativity, innovation and imagination, to enable experimental places and spaces to help us reimagine how sustainable living can be in the future. So it's really a crossroads project to connect innovation, creativity and design, citizens' quality of life, whether they're in cities, in towns or in localities. So to bridge, connect and blend the green and digital transformations. And it's also about combining an EU vision, EU stimulus and action and funding with regional and local initiatives, promoting experimentation and trying to capture the very rich variety of European experience and local energy. So it needs to build on existing vibrant innovation ecosystems and connect together actors and policies and instruments, both bottom-up and top-down. It's also important that we can leverage private funding and philanthropic funding as well. The aim is very much to be a transformational project, to lead thinking and behaviours and to lead the market for new ways of living and building. With this in mind, as the President said, we're now starting the design phase of the new European Bauhaus. And the goal of this phase is to connect to what is already out there and to see how the Bauhaus can accelerate and concretize and materialize good ideas. And the outcome of this design phase should be a support framework, drawing on EU programs, including a call for proposals for at least 5 places where the new Bauhaus concept can be materialized, where it can be piloted, where it can be accelerated in view of the latter dissemination phase. Of course, these pilots will need to be distributed across the EU, involving various member states, and we need to do this by listening, by facilitating, by triggering debates, like the one we're going to have today, by building and drawing on networks and mobilizing actors across Europe and beyond. Of course, culture and sustainability and inclusion are not new concepts for architecture or for urban planning, and they're already at the core of the development of many European cities. We need to empower these existing ideas and new ways of working, and the Commission will be supporting this in the coming weeks by developing an engagement toolkit, which will include harvesting tools to facilitate a structured collection of emerging ideas and insights from right across the European Union. And cities are major partners and major players in this context. They have experience in connecting people and talent to shape future-oriented projects and to find innovative solutions to pressing challenge. And so we expect many cities, individually or through their networks, to contribute very actively to this broad debate, which will underpin the co-creation of the new European Bauhaus. Cities are already demonstrating bold ambition in the fight against climate change. For example, through voluntarily engaging in the Covenant of Mayors to curb greenhouse gas emissions, or to address energy poverty, or to ensure access to clean and affordable energy for everybody. And cities are also at the forefront of research and innovation. Indeed, they're a theme of one of the missions of the upcoming Horizon Europe programme, which is specifically dedicated to their efforts and ambitions. Cities are home to many cultural gems that can boost the recovery of European tourism and shape new ways of visiting and enjoying amenities. And in a nutshell, the new European Bauhaus is a new and original contribution to the European recovery, building on all of these strengths. It will flank major European initiatives like the Green Deal and the renovation wave, and it will link to regional cohesion funding. In the medium term, it could also support the emergence of lead markets for new ways of living, in buildings that are in harmony with the natural environment and climate. It can communicate achievements, and it can show that there is good business in sustainable, quality and affordable solutions. In short, it's good for people and it's good for the planet. Thank you very much.
A few months before March, before the declaration of the state of alarm and the pandemic, one of the last events in which we had the opportunity to participate in exchanging experiences with local governments was a forum. I was in Oporto in Portugal. My team and I have many work meetings with different cities that we participate in different types of alliances and strategies. And this focused on what was at that time emerging as the new Green Deal and the ecological transformation guidelines and also other guidelines for social transformation in our city. And so we realized that there were cities like Florence, the city that accompanies us in this meeting, that there was a great emphasis placed on the need to identify common strategies. It wasn't just about exchanging experiences, but we had to find ways in which we could strengthen our argument that local governments can actually achieve European policy objectives that we're designing. So in that respect, two cities with very similar characteristics. Florence is such a rich heritage city, as is Seville. Cities that in recent years have been so committed to making culture as an economic pillar of its strategy as a citizen. Well, we had the opportunity in that forum to discuss how we could build alliances and strategies with an objective of focusing on achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We had some very interesting meetings with representatives during that meeting, and this gave us the opportunity, particularly over the last few months, to think about how we could guide economic recovery in our territories the day after, let's say, COVID-19. And also the way that the new Bauhaus, the new European Bauhaus, could allow these type of alliances between cities that are firmly committed to culture, heritage, their history, as a benchmark of social transformation. For this reason, in this case, we have asked the City Council of Florence, were accompanied by the Deputy Mayoress, to explain to us what their aspirations are and also their expectations to participate in this movement, focusing on renewal through their specific strategy as a citizen. And I think it's worthwhile listening to what she has to say and think about the opportunities that she can give to a city like Seville to undertake similar initiatives. So I'd like to hand the floor now to Cecilia Del Rey, who's the Vice Mayoress of Florence.
Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today with all of you, and I thank you for being here in order to share how the new European Bauhaus initiative can inspire the thinking of local governments. The current crisis is showing the importance of both public investments and good governance to effectively respond and build longer-term resilience. Cities have been the hardest hit. They have supported national governments to fight the pandemic. They are still on the front line to stop the spread of the virus. All our city systems are affected, including transport, economy, social service. Many businesses have been temporarily shut down, and whole sectors such as tourism, culture, and leisure had to stop their activities completely. But the crisis can also be an opportunity. We must take the opportunity to find solutions that will allow us to give answer to today's urgency, but also to work for a resilient tomorrow against these unpredictable and unimaginable adversities. Thanks to the National Plan for Resilience and Recovery funds, we have a chance to think of an innovative and resilient green recovery, not a dream book, but a plan building today the city of tomorrow. A plan that makes cities a place of active rebirth. In Florence, we update our mandate program, adapting it to the current situation. The Rinasce Firenze plan is our manifesto for a city that reflects its beauty and its strengths thanks to everyone's commitment, administrators, technicians, experts, but also citizens, entrepreneurs, and a great number of local stakeholders being open to all contribution, because we need everyone's contribution in order to renovate, to rethink our city. Florence will be Florence forever. Through this great plan, Rinasce Firenze identifies the nodal points from which to restart. The goal is a city able to respond to the new challenges of today and tomorrow, that allows citizens to reclaim urban spaces with greater reliability, aiming at a sustainable mobility, starting from what has always been the Florence trademark, meaning art and culture, attracting tourism, but a sustainable tourism, always with families, health, and work at the core. I believe that Florence is the right place to match style with sustainability. Well known for fashion, for being a cultural heritage city, an UNESCO site since 1982, and for its creative attitude, but at the same time, despite the coronavirus pandemic that has shaken the world, we are also one of the 80 cities on this year list of the Carbon Disclosure Project that have been recognized for not stopping to tackle the climate crisis and lead on environmental action in 2020. Florence is proud of this recognition, of its continuous and concrete efforts in shaping a better life for its citizens. The administration is convincingly pursuing the vision and the ambition targets co-produced with stakeholders to become smarter, greener, more inclusive and resilient. Matching innovation and development with sustainability and resilience has become even more urgent in our priorities now that we have the chance to redesign a new renaissance, recovery from the pandemic. We have already implemented many actions, tested new solutions, designed plans and a reliable monitoring system, assess impacts, drive the transition, and to be able to adapt to new challenges to become as Bauhaus challenge. In a city like Florence, the Bauhaus initiative therefore corresponds to its strong vocation as a city not only dynamic and vibrant, but also attractive in a wide spectrum, knowledge, investors, visitors, and so on. Bauhaus is symbolic and has a deputy measure of the Florence municipality, a city of culture. We are particularly involved in this initiative for a new European Bauhaus. I'm convinced that the green digital transformation of Europe is a cultural project that we need to combine style and sustainability when we rethink and redesign our cities. Active participation is a tool that already enables the mixture of art and knowledge connected to the house. To champion the need for a cross-disciplinary approach to tackling the climate emergency, the main ambition is to create houses and public buildings that help cities become greener and that reconnect us with nature. A project that involves the whole society, leveraging the creative and innovative capacities of the various strategic sectors affected by this process. At the base is the intuition that efforts to reverse the current trend cannot be confined to the economic or environment level, but a new cultural project is needed. Knowledge, desires, and space in which to represent the green cultural transformation. The desire and knowledge of those who live and inhabit a city and bring it into the future is the process of constructive co-design, a participatory process to which Florence is accustomed, in which now the physical audience of meetings and exchange of ideas and proposal is replaced by virtual gathering. In this frame, Florence has activated Firenze Prossima, a digital campaign for listening to citizen needs, preparatory and different respect to the more traditional use participation tools for the adoption of the new municipal operation plan, which can be useful to the municipal administration to increase the cognitive framework. The survey was open for a month and we collected 7,000 recommendations in a month. The compilation of the online questionnaire was left free and voluntary, so that the listening process was as open as possible. a way of listening, feeling and collecting the sentiment, the need of those who live in the city. Here is an example of holistic listening, as holistic an approach also designed for the transformation of areas, including buildings and their renewed use. The search for a new style, able to combine sustainability, inclusiveness, and aesthetics, also focus on the construction sector, one of the most polluting using materials, which directly release CO2 through chemical reactions. Therefore, the idea of creating a space to take ecosystem into account and combine sustainability and usability and spread knowledge. One of the ideas for the recuperation we are developing is the creation of historic complex in the city and on the coastal areas, including agricultural areas that now are abandoned for the development of dual function. The creation of a training center at university level, urban sustainability center, on environmental science, and the construction of the entrance of at the Park Peninsula, currently under construction, which constitutes a green land for the entire urban quadrant of reference. The recovery of the venue will focus on technological solutions aimed at reducing energy consumption and the consequent emission into the atmosphere, but also at enhancing the aesthetic value in the conviction that what is necessary can also be beautiful, that style and sustainability go hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. Well, as we can hear and see, the decisions that are being taken by each territory reveal the extent to which local government is convinced that this is the time and that we have to take important decisions to transform the futures of our territories. Sometimes in local policy and local politics, you have to opt for, the day-to-day and what's necessary in the future. And the current circumstances are very hard when citizens need answers. And some of these answers are so urgent as food supply, for example. In Seville, for example, we have some of the poorest neighborhoods in the country. But it's important for citizens to understand why it's so important to take certain decisions, and why, so that they can understand the decisions that are taken by public actors, public stakeholders. For example, energy transformation. Why do we have to channel so much investment to ensure that the system is more efficient and so we reduce consumption levels? Or, for example, why we should invest in renewable energy in given territories. It's important that we explain clearly why all of these things are so important, and why the vision of each territory with these ideas in mind can allow us to develop a unified framework which is essential for us to achieve the objectives that we pursue, namely to combat the global problem of climate change. But that has to be explained continually and collectively, and that is a complex exercise. The first decision to commit to transformation is the first point. It's not an option. We cannot just stay as we are. We cannot continue doing the same as we've been doing for years to come. And we have to ensure that we put that message across to society and that society understands this. We have to transform and stop doing things to be able to do others, which will be much more enriching from a humane and also collective standpoint. And in this major change of mentality that I mentioned before, this big change of mindset, it's essential that universities and some of the most active stakeholders in society, those that nurture most talent, and I'm sure many come from culture, and a city like Seville is at the forefront of this adaptation to permanent change. A city that's known for adapting to change to generate wealth and sustainability. Well, that's the reason why all of this represents a big challenge for the whole of society, to ensure that society embraces this transformation for change. and shouldn't just see these issues as environmental protection or technology, which is seen purely as a lever to move towards modernity. So I think at this moment, in the next two roundtables, we can home in on some of the more specifics here at local level, aspects that we should prioritise at local level to foster this collective transformation. That is crucial, and we can do this accompanied by scientific experts who do precisely that, to give us, explanations, not just economic and social. And I think that's an excellent idea, because it will encourage social reflection. That's the reason why we wanted to organise this discussion, this debate. And I would also like to invite one of our great patrons or sponsors of these type of events, because of his enormous expertise in Europe, in European affairs. He has been a great choice, and we believe it's a great choice on the part of the European Commission to appoint him director. Mikel Landabasso, he's from Seville. He's an adopted Sevillian. We feel a great deal of affection for you. So thank you very much for participating in this round table. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you very much, May, and congratulations. Thank you very much for leading this collective reflection about what you were talking about, of leading in Europe at such a key moment. Because today, as you were well stating, we're going to talk about which is the role of local authorities and all sizes of cities in the recovery process, inspired by the Bauhaus movement. And this is precisely what we're going to talk about. But I would also like to congratulate you, sir, because Seville has been one of the first cities in creating this public-private partnership that is going to make us be able of getting on the recovery train, which is sailing through now and which can be replicated with the same ideas and partnership in other cities, not only in Spain but also in Europe. Most particularly, this also leads me to thank you all the important living forces that are here today with us, and most particularly to my dear friends from the Cartuja Technological Park, which is a key element for Seville, Andalusia, and why not for Spain and Europe. Having said this, I would like to say, and I'm going to speak English if you don't mind.
What are we here for? Today we are going to study. We are going to see, on the basis of science, evidence, facts, reason, with some of the best researchers today in Europe, what is the role of local authorities for economic recovery, with a reinterpretation, refreshment, updating of the notion of the Bauhaus. So let me go back in time. The Bauhaus. You know what is the motto of the Bauhaus? The motto is art and technology, the new unity. Art, technology, the new unity. Today, inspired by that motto, we are going to talk about art, technology, sustainability for the benefit of the local community. So art is that part that Stephen West was talking about. Creativity, innovation, aesthetics, form, technology, smart cities, renewables, the Green Deal, sustainability, triple bottom line, social, economic, and also ecological. And then for the local community, and this is very, very important, this is what our president has said, this is what the major has just said, with the citizen at the center. Smart cities, this is all very well, but we are talking about wise cities. Smart cities have technology at its center. Smart grids, renewables, yes, clean urban transport, all the issues that the president mentioned. Wise cities is the people at the center, the citizens at the center. Form, function, for a new dynamic. After COVID, we have to rethink the cities, the villages, the towns. And this is what we're going to do. I'm honored, I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to
to showcase 4 people in this panel, which are some of the best researchers in Europe. We have Director Sławomir Tokarski, a champion of the social economy in the European Commission, on social innovation, and at the heart of the renovation wave. Here, with the COVID, Sevilla, Andalucía, España, with the jobs lost in construction, the renovation wave, a unique opportunity. Then we have Ine. Ine is one of our colleagues. She's written about the future of cities. She's rewriting the future of cities. She's talking about cities and integrated approaches. And then Paolo, some of the best methodologies for renewables, for sustainability, for clean urban transport, for smart cities comes from his research team. And then we have Nicolas, who is also Sevillano like me, which we'll be talking in a minute. He has just produced the best, the newest standards for sustainable construction. Sustainability. Less CO2 in the atmosphere by the cities, 40%. More renewables. Better social dynamics. Stimulation of the construction cluster, new jobs of people unemployed at a higher level of training and technology. This is what we are going to talk. And I'm going to shut up because we have very little time, and this panel is going to respond to the question, not wishful thinking, not nice ideas, that we will all agree, how to do this now, how? And as they speak, and we will start by Ine, you will find in the website the links to the actual documents where it can inspire you and do things about it, with public money, with private money, with both of them. So thank you very much. Ine, I hope it works, and the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikel. Thank you, Mayor Espadas. Buenos dias. Good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for allowing me to say a few words. The Joint Research Centre has as main goal to provide scientific evidence in support to policy making at the European level. It aims at giving the right knowledge at the right time to allow informed decision making. Of course, in order to be able to give the right answers, we need to know what the right questions are. This is where our collective intelligence comes in. About 2 years ago, we launched a community of practice on cities, sparking a collaborative discussion on emerging trends in cities. We wanted to know what challenges do cities face, what opportunities are there also for them to overcome. The results were published in a report entitled The Future of Cities last year, and we are currently building on going further with what we found and looking at priority areas. Of course, this discussion took place before the current pandemic, but the challenges that cities face remain, and some of them have just become even more urgent to address. So what trends did we see? First of all, Europe is somewhat unique in that it is no longer experiencing exponential population growth and urbanization. While 72% of Europeans live in urban areas, and Europe's total urban population continues to grow, half of our cities will actually lose population by 2050. How do we address this? Europe is also aging. Life expectancy will reach 88 by the year 2050, which is good news for all of us, but the old age dependency ratio will almost double, and what will that mean on those we are dependent? At the same time, our infrastructure is also aging. Almost half of all our buildings are more than 70 years old. Cities are also responsible for 70% of greenhouse gas emissions. And just providing the food, water, and energy needed by our cities, just to keep them going, has severe impacts on their surrounding land. Alternative mobility solutions are needed. Just one example, in Rome last year, drivers lost an estimated 166 hours of time due to traffic. In many cities, inequality and social segregation is growing. 22% of EU residents are at risk of poverty or social exclusion. Besides urban residents being at higher risk of infectious diseases, as is all the more evident right now, there are also increased concerns on mental well-being in urban areas. In fact, our general well-being can vary greatly just depending on where we live within a city. For example, in London, it was estimated that a resident's life expectancy could vary by up to 20 years, just depending on which neighborhood they lived within the city. Good quality housing is becoming unaffordable. Up to 80% of European citizens in capital cities feel they are not able to find affordable housing. So the good news is that cities already have the tools in hand to tackle these issues and work towards more sustainable urban living. They're embracing new forms of governance and strategic thinking. They are increasing citizen engagement. They are stimulating innovation. While the current crisis has hit urban areas particularly hard, and immediate recovery remains, of course, a priority, cities are already planning on how to build back better, to build back differently, to build back for the longer term too. Digitalization has been accelerated in many public administrations, and many now also stand much closer to the citizen. One example is that I can now watch regular updates from our mayor on Facebook, something I couldn't have imagined last year. Cities are gaining more autonomy. They are spanning together and they are actively seeking out peer learning opportunities. Examples are the new charter, which happened just this past Monday, and the organization of today's event. Cities are leading the way in bringing about the change that was needed already before the crisis, and which is all the more urgent now. And the city level provides the right scale to both experiment with and apply measures that are integrated and place-based. Measures that are tailored to the specific needs of the individual city and its community. Above all, good practices of what works in some cities need to be shared and applied in others. Just some examples of steps that have already been taken in the right direction and can be taken further are urban farming, the sharing economy, intergenerational living projects, the repurposing of abandoned inner city buildings. Perhaps there will be more office buildings, for example, now to be able to repurpose, and the use of new building materials. So while we can draw up images in our mind of the ideal city, the real creativity will actually come in rebuilding what already exists into our utopia. The majority of change will have to happen in pre-existing urban fabric. We need to rethink and reshape our cities to be more inclusive, more sustainable, and healthier, while celebrating the culture, the heritage, and the beauty that is already there. Multifunctional, green, and vibrant public spaces can increase social cohesion, improve mental and physical well-being, whilst being artworks in themselves. Integrated urban planning and the design of public spaces should be one of the main focal points of the new European Bauhaus. The redesign of urban space could focus on reducing distances between areas where we live, work, and play. Something all the more important right now. It could experiment with the densification or redensification of certain areas. It could experiment with the recovery of certain buildings and the cleaning up of brownfields. The redirection of traffic outside of city centers to create new green public spaces is already happening in many cities and is a great example of what is possible. In conclusion, the Bauhaus presents a new framework in which to share what already works, what is there, and to further explore these solutions and look at even further into new solutions for sustainable living through creativity, innovation, and some imagination. The JRC can support this experimentation with its research expertise and a wide range of scientific knowledge from different fields. It is recognized that a city's resilience stems in large part from its sense of community and its social networks. In all of the above, as Mikhail said, the citizen is central. The end goal that we have of sustainability in all its forms is a very serious and necessary one, of which we are all more aware now than ever. And cities are key in delivering integrated local solutions to global sustainability challenges. But in the spirit of the original Bauhaus, I hope that some fun can also be had in working towards this together. Thank you very much.
Paolo. Adelante.
Good morning, Mayor Estado Civil, distinguished colleagues and audience. It's a pleasure to address you, to give a short overview of what can the city do to meet the current COVID crisis and climate crisis. Our President, my Director General, already explained to you what is the Bauhaus. I would like to stress again that the COVID crisis is unprecedented, has put a major economic and social crisis in our cities, and has also shown the vulnerabilities, the shutting down of school or university, social places where people can meet, share, and enjoy life. At the same time, I would like to remind you the climate crisis, which is still there and won't go away. We have more frequent and more severe hazard caused by climate change, flooding, forest fire, drought, heavy rain, storms, and our citizens and our cities are suffering. Just last month, south of France, part of Italy were hit, and there was loss of life in cities. And this should not happen, but unless we take drastic action to reduce our emission and to prepare to this increased impact of our climate. Cities are at the forefront of the climate change fight. They already shown the way with several initiatives, and they should continue to lead the way to climate neutralities, which is needed if we want to avoid major disruption to our economic system, to our life, to the food system, to the water system, to a lot of regions that will be really heavily impacted. For example, desertification may come in Southern Europe as a result of this. Cities have the competence, the knowledge, the human resources, the financing to create solutions which can change the way in which we use energy, in which we produce energy, and in which we create our business and our values. In particular, the city can enact a fast transformative change, which can be example for nations and for Europe itself. City can anticipate the climate neutrality goal, and already in an initiative at European level, which is the Covenant of Mayors, over 10,000 cities have demonstrated this with concrete results. And I will congratulate Seville, having joined since a while the Covenant of Mayors, first committed 2020, now committing for 2030 with excellent plans, both mitigation and adaptation, and it is a way to show the leadership of the cities that can also aggregate other cities and villages in the province, in the regions, and bring all together the city along the stream, from the small villages to this regional capital to the major cities. We need all of them. And what is important is the cities and the Covenant of Mayors listen to the citizens, engage them, and bring them along, because it's not climate change solution is not something that can be achieved by policy alone. It needs a genuine change of behavior, a participation by citizens with their daily actions. For example, choices in the buildings they buy, in the mobility they use public transportation, walk and cycle. And again, we see that the COVID crisis has highlighted again the importance of cycling in our cities. A lot of cities have immediately responded to this and created a lot of bike lanes, safe bike lanes, for people to stay outdoor and avoid contamination, and at the same time doing a healthy exercise and the most environmental friendly way of transportation. It's very good the result of the Covenant of Mayors show already that cities are doing better than member states, than Europe. Already in 2020 they achieved -27, and the promise they made in their commitment for 2030 is well above 40%. And most probably they can already spare the way to the most challenging target that Europe is now discussing, -55%. And many cities are already committing a climate neutrality by 2050 or even earlier. So it's very encouraging, and despite all the crisis and the problem, cities are really showing the way. Building renovation is the key action, in particular in public buildings that show the leadership of local authorities, but also in the private sector. And in particular, it's very important also to not forget, as my colleague said, the social dimension, avoiding leaving anybody behind, and for example, focusing on social housing, on energy poverty. There are still a lot of citizens in Europe which cannot afford to heat or cool their houses, and they suffer from this with their health. So this is the priority, to leave nobody behind, to create the so-called climate justice, that nobody will suffer, everybody can enjoy a better quality of life. Cities should also be at the forefront of the recovery. The national recovery plans that should be presented early next year, they should be really the focus on our buildings, on the way in which we use them, and the transportation systems, on the energy we produce. A lot of energy can be local, can be centralized in buildings through the forms of renewables, photovoltaics, and other solutions. And mobility, of course. Mobility should be changed, should be safe, should be sustainable, and safe also from a economic point of view, but in particular serve the needs of the citizens. And the motto should be citizens and the well-being should be first in this recovery plan, with having in mind the Green Deal that our President recalled to us as a strive to climate neutrality. And my last thought is how to bring in the Bauhaus. And already the previous speakers have highlighted the need of offering new solution, attractive and technical solution which combine aesthetic with functionality, which can design and contribute to design public spaces, both indoor and outdoor. We should not forget about parks, squares, places of aggregation for people, citizens, that are nice, green, for example, urban parks that can absorb CO2, that can offer cooling solution for our citizens during heat wave, where people can play, enjoy music, open theater, etc. And also bring this green movement to our building. For example, green roof, green facade, which are very effective solution, natural-based solution, which are very combine the reduction of energy consumption with the adaptation to climate change, keeping buildings cooler in summer, and also are better for biodiversity point of view. And last but not least, in this movement, also discover climate neutral materials. For example, wood construction, which has been abandoned many years ago, but is a valid alternative to using steel and glass, which produces emit a lot of emissions. So there is the need to redesign and to bring a new thinking, holistic thinking to the city, to the district, the public space, to the building, to always the citizens and their need and well-being in mind. Thank you very much for your attention.
There is Solek.
Good morning, everybody. Buenos dias. Hola, Mikel. Let me start maybe with a bit of background, because we heard today a couple of times about renovation wave. But what is renovation wave? The renovation wave is an EU strategy for recovery and resilience in the construction and housing sector. And the aim is to double the annual energy renovation rate of buildings by 2030 and to foster deep renovations. So at first sight, the renovation wave is about reaching a critical mass of investment in the construction sector, creating jobs, as this is a sector with a high job growth potential, and tackling energy performance, hence decarbonization. And all this while boosting the recovery. In other words, this seems to be one of those ideas for using recovery and resilience funds for the investment in line with the green transition and with the longer term of fuel. So far so good, but nothing really revolutionary. But there are some elements that make the renovation wave stand out, and this is something I would like to share with you today, the affordable housing initiative. So why do we need to invest in affordable, social housing for the recovery? Let me first give you an economic argument. Investment in social and affordable housing is a good counter-cyclical measure. It is so because it generates economic return in terms of employment during low economic conjuncture. It is less expensive than during economic upturn, and it boosts productivity in different sectors, construction, renewables, electronics. So here we have already some idea how this initiative combines at least two objectives. Better performing construction ecosystem with a modern social and affordable housing for benefited people. And the third one is decarbonization, as buildings are responsible for a large share of EU greenhouse gas emissions. But there is more to come. It is also about step change in terms of technological breakthrough. Social housing units that are often owned by public authorities can be the demonstrators for innovative solutions and latest state-of-the-art technologies when it comes to smart buildings or digital solutions. So this investment shall boost technology development, innovation, and the foundation of a diverse local economic ecosystem. And these benefits, in turn, should reduce energy bills for dwellers, improve health and comfort, create quality spaces, and improve resilience in the face of climate events and crises. What is important is that all of this shall be seen against the social background. The EU has been facing a housing affordability crisis, with an alarming number of Europeans experiencing homelessness. And add to this COVID impact, which, as we see, was the worst among the dwellers of social housing. And the reason is that the existing stock of social housing has been often designed without the concern for social needs or public spaces, thus disallowing inhabitants from participating in the variety of social and economic relations. And this takes us to quit of aesthetics for social housing. We need integrated approaches. If we do investments in social housing, it is smarter to tackle more issues than just insulation and a heating system, but also livability, accessibility, architectural quality, access to local services, or design of living spaces. In other words, the center of gravity is the community, and the objective is empowering the members of this community through the variety of solutions to fully participate in social and economic exchanges to the benefit of society. And this is the approach that the Affordable Housing Initiative will follow. It is also where we connect to the new European Bauhaus. As for this to happen, we would need to tap into different sources of European creativity, coming from cultural associations, artists, architects, designers, and engineers. So what's next? As the first step, we aim in piloting the renovation of 100 lighthouse social and affordable housing districts. I'm very happy to speak today to local governments because I count on you joining this initiative. So following the integrated approach, the renovation of the districts will first combine various technologies, such as digital and smart energy-efficient solutions, circular and modular renovation toolkits, and eco-design, and the use of renewables as energy sources. Second, use and develop human-centered business models, promote social innovations, and integrate residents in the projects, for example, through co-investing in the renovation or in resident-owned services. Let me also mention here local green deals as an example, whereby local dwellers can own solar panels or get engaged in urban agriculture, thus benefiting directly from green transition. And by the way, if I can make a link to social economy, the first solar panels in the EU were owned by cooperatives in Germany. And finally, we need to ensure that renovated units remain affordable. This initiative will follow a district-level approach. Why? First, neighborhood is often identified with a district. And for many of you, if I ask you the question about your childhood, that is probably the first territory that comes to your mind, and the first community in which you participated. Also, tackling digital and green transition of buildings at district level is the first step towards generating economies of scale. Aggregating projects at the level of the communities may lead to zero energy or even positive energy districts. And district approaches can transform entire neighborhoods, facilitate social integration, and create new business opportunities, which takes us back to the idea of empowering the communities. So with this pilot, we want to demonstrate the replication potential towards other districts by providing blueprints for replication and by setting up a network among social housing providers. We also want to act as a catalyst for relevant EU projects and policies, including the access to the variety of funding programs. And we also want to channel new skills and intelligence towards local projects and stakeholders, for example, with focus on active aging, smart cities, energy communities, skills, etc. And finally, this is the last point, we also want to attract the new generation of young and talented people into the world of social economy, meeting their aspirations of solidarity and fairness. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to speak briefly about how implementation of the new European Bauhaus initiative can be supported down at building level, at a very practical level, at sort of project implementation. The Joint Research Centre has been developing, in conjunction with the building industry, a framework called Levels, which is referred to as a common EU framework for the sustainability of buildings. The framework is targeted at design teams, building contractors, public authorities, private investors and developers, the very actors that will be critical to, alongside the involvement of the community, to implement the Bauhaus and related initiatives like the renovation wave. Levels is intended to provide them with the tools, the instructions, the know-how on how to assess and measure the sustainability of buildings, their performance. Looking at tackling issues from the most basic of reducing energy use, which is a key objective of the renovation wave, for example. Other issues such as water use, minimizing construction waste, but also some of the more challenging environmental objectives at European level, such as how do we reduce carbon dioxide emissions along the whole life cycle of a building, for example, associated with manufacturing construction materials, right through to the ability to deconstruct and recycle what the building is constructed from. Other challenges, future adaptation, the capacity of buildings to adapt to future climate change is a very important and difficult challenge as well. How to make our buildings more circular. What does that mean in practice in terms of the durability, the lifespan of the buildings that we are constructing and also increasingly will have to renovate. The Levels was published in October, but prior to that we were working for 2 years in a testing phase with over 130 building projects across the EU to really engage at a project level and end up with a tool that is very effective and practical and is what building designers, project developers, people working at building level need and are asking for. From Spain, we had public buildings in Barcelona involved, small residential buildings in Brussels, office buildings as far afield as northeast of Europe in Helsinki. So a broad range of actors were engaged. And what did they tell us from all the feedback that we've gathered? They very much valued that with Levels we've created a common language of sustainability, a set of priority objectives for improvement that they can all agree to and work with, and this was particularly important. But they also told us that they needed a very practical tool, that they needed something that gave them clear instructions to work with, that they could have some very basic design principles to work from if they didn't have a huge budget for technicians, right through to kind of being able to measure the real performance of a building once people are occupying and using it. So we've tried to build that into the framework to make it very practical. But in fact, Levels goes further in terms of renovation. It's critical to renovation projects and deep renovation projects is improving performance, is an understanding of the kind of design, the characteristics of the building you're going to renovate, its qualities, how it currently performs, the baseline performance you want to improve against. This is critical. The opportunities and constraints, and very importantly, as has been mentioned already, the perspective of the people who are already living and working in those buildings that will be improved. And from their perspective, what do they think? What can they identify about the improvements that are really needed, that they will perceive and they will benefit from the intervention? So a co-creation of solutions is critical there. Also, we see with the extended deep confinements of the pandemic, this has brought a new focus of attention on other issues, not just the environmental objectives we have in Levels. We also have health, comfort, adaptability of the residential buildings that we've had to live, work and educate our children in during very difficult times in the same space. And this has brought our attention to issues of daylight, thermal comfort, ventilation, noise, the adaptability and flexibility of the internal spaces, amongst a range of other factors that are becoming more important and are becoming much more aware to designers, but also everybody in the community. And I think these we've built into Levels, and it will be improved further in the future as well. So Levels reflects a broader view of what a sustainable building should be about, what its objectives should be, reflecting the new European Bauhaus initiative emphasis, not just on improving the environmental performance of building, but also recognise the importance of the quality of internal spaces. The need to create healthy and comfortable buildings to live, work and study in. The need to ensure that buildings are affordable, long-lasting and adaptable to change over time. As a result, what we see with what we published, it's something that can provide building professionals at building level, but also at individual apartment reform level, with the core indicators that focus on adaptability, healthy and comfortable spaces, life cycle cost and value in the long term. So, in summary, we think that this framework, developed in conjunction with the building industry, offers three approaches that can respond to the challenges we face. Firstly, it's something that's been thoroughly tested with building professionals, so it's something that it should be effective. That it provides a priority focus on a number of indicators and objectives in terms of areas of performance, but then leaving the solutions to the designers, so it focuses on performance. And finally, it creates a framework that allows you to assess, measure, monitor the long-term sustainability of a building, and this is critical.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. Alcalde, I think this is overwhelming. There is too much information, but there is one message, which is this is the time local authorities have a key role to play in the recovery. You have to catch this train. The European Commission has made available the biggest solidarity operation, I think, in its history. The money is there available, and what we've tried to convey is we are here to help. The European Commission, the Joint Research Center. Use us, but please go for it.
Gracias. Muy bien.
Thank you.
Creo que
Well, I think that we have attended a very interesting panel with very specific objections, with a very interesting technical analysis to make contributions to design a project for the stage each one of us finds ourselves in, and also to shape this new movement, this new Bauhaus that goes beyond specific investment projects and that is trying to develop a thought current, a current of modernity, a collective current of modernity. And if you agree, we can move on to the next panel so that we will be able to abide by the timings we have adopted for this meeting. So if I have not misunderstood, this is going to be moderated by Xavier Troussard. So Xavier, you have the floor. Thank you very much. Mayor Espadas, good morning, Sevilla.
It's really a pleasure for me to be with you today for one of these first public conversations about the new European Bauhaus. And I'm particularly pleased that this first conversation takes place in a city context, because as we've listened, the cities have a lot of goodwill to bring to this initiative, and also a large wealth of experience. So I am now in the Joint Research Center in charge of facilitating and coordinating the design of this new European Bauhaus initiative, and therefore I'm very anxious to hear for the first views and the first ideas on how to develop it further. There's a lot which has already been said about the Bauhaus. We have, of course, some elements that start to define it. We know that we want to focus on the places where people live, and also the life they want to have in it, and how it should be transformed to address the three dimensions that Stephen Quest recalled: the dimension of sustainability, the dimensions of quality of experience for all, and the notion of also inclusion with accessibility and affordability. So in that space, we have left intentionally the whole concept open to give a chance to co-creation. And we heard that in cities, there's a lot of experience about how to conduct cooperation, how to bring together views from various sectors to connect dots, but also to connect with citizens to get from them an understanding of what are their matters of care and concerns, what are their expectations. And that's precisely what the Commission wants to engage in the first months of the design phase of the new European Bauhaus, is to engage as many conversations as possible as the one we have today, with many different stakeholders, so that we give a chance to fresh ideas to come to the fore, and to get a collective understanding of what the new European Bauhaus should be about, where it should concentrate its effort, what kind of challenges it should help tackling, and how it should be delivered. So I can stop talking and start being actually where I should be, which is listening. And I'm lucky because we have quite a stimulating panel of politicians and responsible people in various levels of governance at the EU level, starting from the European Parliament and then moving towards regional authorities and local authorities. And I will ask each of our panelists to reflect on two dimensions. One is, I'm of course interested in their first ideas, their first take on the European, new European Bauhaus, but I'm also interested to understand from where they sit, from the perspective of their institution on their network, how they could help us to bring this conversation across Europe so that we get a co-design which is really reflecting the broad diversity of Europe. So to start with, I will invite the member of the European Parliament, Marcos Ros-Sampere, to take the floor. I think he has a double quality to contribute to this debate. Not only is representing the European Parliament in this panel, but he is also himself an architect and indeed even a professor of urban planning and spatial planning. So he has some views, and he has already published around the European Bauhaus. So, Mr. Rosampere, you have the floor.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Lo primero, dar las gracias.
Hello, thank you. Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the City Council of Seville for organising this event, and also the European Commission, and also the Joint Research Centre, and also a welcome to the Mayor of Seville, who I know is there, and also Lina Galvez, who is also one of the members of Parliament. A few months ago, the debate on the state of the European Union, our President Ursula von der Leyen surprised us all by announcing the creation of the new European Bauhaus, which would complement the urban renovation project. According to her own words, and I would like to repeat this today, she decided to foster the creation of a co-creation space for engineers, architects, students, etc., to work together on the design and launch of this new innovation hub, let's say. To make buildings more efficient, fewer emissions, and much more environmentally friendly. And this is something really relevant to one of the most emblematic research institutions of in Europe in the 20th century, the Bauhaus school that was created back in the early 20th century by Walter Gropius. And we all know exactly what the influence was, and the subsequent headquarters in 23. He was the real driver of the modern movement. And that initiative responded to the innovative, artistic and educational and progressist movements, which are very similar to what we can see today, a context of change, where there's a need to make a qualitative leap in terms of architecture and development in our cities, and also the fight against climate change. That Bauhaus, or as it was called, gave rise to a new series of designs to optimize the relationship between form, scale, aesthetics, and everything, which was also went hand in hand with forms and a sense of practical approach to design and construction, with a view to improving the quality of life of users, to learn doing, and also to foster social responsibility in many disciplines that would actually complement one another, developing many synergies. In short, that radical renovation of architecture and design, which touched upon spaces, construction, spaces and cities and buildings, gave rise to that new culture. We now have the opportunity to change our cultural paradigm. And the choice is not being done down to any whim. The European Commission is taking advantage of the next generation funds of the European Union to undertake a series of energy renewals of buildings, in I think 25 million buildings, largely residential buildings, but mentions also made of public buildings. Buildings that were constructed in the second half of the 20th century and which are affected by many problems of thermal comfort and also usage of space. It's a very ambitious project. The final investment hasn't been quantified yet because each government will have to quantify the amount it can invest, but the Commission calculates that 160,000 jobs could be generated as a result of this project. And we have to monitor this because the College of Architects in Spain believes that this could actually generate more employment in Spain, benefiting from the funds that were announced by the Spanish government. And also, for each euro invested in new buildings or for each euro invested in renovation work is tremendous. So we're talking about a complete political strategy. It's about similar to those holiday programs that were organized in Spain for the elderly, which was on the part holidays for many people who had never traveled in their lives. It was called Inserso program here in Spain, but also there was a return for the economic actors because the hotels were filled during low season. So it's a similar approach. We can improve the quality of life of European citizens. They will have better homes that are more comfortable with lower consumption levels. It will generate employment. We can also fight against climate change, and all of this on top of it has a very powerful return on investment, because we know that renovation and construction will obviously generate substantial economic activity all around these activities, and secondary activities are obviously generated. So all of this will result in income for the state through tax. So much of the impact on young people, on youth employment, we can see today is going to be absorbed by this project. So we're talking about two sectors that transfer employment from one to the other. You know, when we had this construction crisis, well, the people that worked in that sector moved to the hotel and catering sector and back and forth. So, you know, there was a whole dynamic of training, transformation of that type of employment. And of course, something very important is the urban dimension of the renovation wave. It was mentioned before in the other round table. Ina Faber-Castell mentioned this. It's important not just to renovate buildings, but also renovate our urban spaces and consider the global dimension of urban areas and the global role that cities will play in this whole process. If we add to this process innovative design, innovation quality, better comfort, and also the participation of technological and research centres, well, that proposal is almost one that would close the circle. So the European Parliament believes that the initiative is extremely powerful and it can be very helpful. We have a European residential park of low construction quality, of low aesthetic quality, of low technical quality as well. And that's also something which is closely related to poverty. So we have to undertake comprehensive design projects. It's not just about changing on the energy level. We have to also modify the configuration of buildings, of homes, to make them more adaptable. Universal accessibility and improved quality of life. Improved quality across the board. This initiative could also serve as a driver for all of the excellent professionals throughout Europe who work in architecture, design and town planning. They can actually be valorized, which is something which has often not happened in the past, and they can participate in this type of construction initiative. But it's not all a bed of roses. The European Commission has explained how it's going to fund the new European Bauhaus. You know, the new renovation is going to be financed, but it hasn't, actually clarified how the new European Bauhaus project is going to be funded. So the idea is to renovate more than 500,000 buildings. But again, all of this will need funds, and we're not sure yet how the new European Bauhaus initiative is going to be funded. That's not sure. There are many European MPs from different political parties that are against the NEB being financed with cultural funds, such as Erasmus Plus or the European Solidarity body, because I think that we'll probably have to find a funding solution to this. I am proposing, since this process began, that it should be simply very similar to the New Horizon and also the project of major public programs and projects which can be used for cultural projects which are within the scope of those public initiatives. I proposed this in the European Parliament, that the money that's assigned to energy renovation of buildings can be assigned in a minimum percentage to design, innovation, research for the new European Bauhaus and not cultural programs. Again, this could also be complemented with Europe Horizon programs, R&D and I projects, state funding and also local funding if it's the cities and towns that are ones that would like to take over this process. And finally, another very important point. It's important that the projects are developed as soon as possible and before we start investing in the buildings, because if we start investing in the buildings without having the conclusions on the NEB, then we will be undertaking projects that are not supported and underpinned by the process of reflection on the new Bauhaus. We also believe that there may be other Bauhaus centres and offices, and we can create a network throughout Europe through a series of hubs, and it shouldn't just be limited to the initial 5 Bauhaus centres that are proposed by the European Commission. And the European Parliament, what's it doing? Well, as a member of the Cultural Committee and also the Environmental Committee, we're working on this initiative. We've been working ever since the outset. We're trying to overcome some of the reluctance expressed by some European MPs. We've had many meetings with the European Council of Architects, with the government, with the Advanced Architecture College in Barcelona. So we're trying to ensure that this initiative is sponsored within the European Parliament. So based on the reports that will be carried out as from the month of January for next year, 2021, we hope to come up with a specific document for the new European Bauhaus, which will be prepared by the Committees of Research, Culture and Environment, working together. The idea being to contribute our best ideas so that we can work with the European Commission, and in my case personally as a European Member of Parliament for Spain, collaborating with those countries, cities and offices which would like to be candidates for new offices for the new European Bauhaus. So I'd like to conclude by congratulating you for organising this event, which is extremely important. So together, European Parliament, Council, Member States, European Commission, all of us have to work together to try to ensure this begins as soon as possible in a well-coordinated manner and ensure that it works efficiently, which will ultimately result in benefits for all citizens. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, we obviously look forward working with the European Parliament on this initiative. So I took good note of your first support for the approach of integrated design and the way this initiative could bring support to the renovation wave. I also have taken good notes of your questions about the financing. And so these are things that we will develop over time. I look forward also to the cooperation with the European Parliament in bringing the conversation across Europe, including, as you mentioned, with local authorities. Our next speaker comes from the Committee of Region. Anne Kajalainen is responsible for one of the most relevant committee in the Committee of Regions, which is the Commission for Social Policy, Education, Employment, Research and Culture. And so, from your perspective, Mrs. Kajalainen, how do you see this new European Bauhaus initiative, and how do you see the Committee of Regions contributing to its shaping, in particular through the design phase we are starting now? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear moderator, esteemed panelists, dear participants. The Bauhaus initiative of the Commission President is a great idea to link the mission of a climate neutral and sustainable union with art and culture. It is indeed a bridge between the world of science and technology and the world of art and culture. This initiative not only can give the Green Deal and also the renovation wave a soul and identity, it also can promote a holistic view of how we want to develop our cities and regions. In its founding manifesto of the original Bauhaus, its founder Walter Gropius placed in 1919 construction at the center of artistic work by attempting to build on an artisanal and artistic traditions of medieval architecture. The building, its space and everything in it should be designed to serve the people. This focus on improving life of the people in a multidisciplinary and inclusive way is a concept that remains essential for today's politics and ambitions. This is why the overall mission of a climate neutral and sustainable Europe can only be successful if it fully takes on board this Bauhaus spirit. It can, however, only work with a true bottom-up process and a citizen and place-based focus. Therefore, I totally agree that cities play a major role here as places where multitude of phenomena occur at the same time, interacting with people, spaces, and functions. Therefore, the criticism of some MEPs against a top-down Bauhaus initiative is justified to avoid that such a strategy is defined in Brussels as a one-size-fits-all approach. This cannot work. The Bauhaus story shows the need for local solutions that take into account the interests and desire of the citizens. That is based on local ownership and inspiration. That is also why the European Committee of the Region is so interested to play an active role in reaching out to the local and regional level in Europe. Through our members, through our partnership with associations such as the CERM, and through the local government associations. Let me therefore make a number of suggestions on how to further develop the Bauhaus initiatives. First, I suggest to work closely with the Joint Research Centre to collect ideas and suggestions for the future Bauhaus initiative in reaching out together to the local and regional level. We could do so by carrying a joint online consultation in the coming month that could be published soon, and we could present the findings in the first quarter of next year. We could have a discussion with the Joint Research Centre during our SEDEC Commission with Director General Stephen Quest in February next year. I would also suggest to work closely together with members of the European Parliament and the Presidency of the Council of the EU to underline the truly bottom-up approach of the initiative. Together with Juan Espadas, our ENVA chair, Mayor of Seville, we will make sure that the debate on the renovation wave is based on the philosophy of the Green Deal going local. As the chair of the SEDEC Commission in the Committee of Region, we are not only responsible for culture and art, but also for innovation and smart specialization. Especially smart specialization is based on an entrepreneurial discovery process, which means that every region and city has to find its own initiative strategy in an inclusive and flexible process of exchange, design and collaboration. In doing so, it is very much reflects the Bauhaus spirit. I would be delighted if we could work together to use smart specialization as a key enabler for the new Bauhaus initiative. Let's hope that in spring next year we could present these ideas in a joint workshop. For example, here in Seville, to add to the current 3S concept. So, smart specialization strategy, a fourth element of sustainability. So the result will be S4. We also have to work together in making sure that the recovery package of new generation EU that provides 750 billion to help address the crisis is used in such a way that it makes significant contributions to our ambitions for a more digital and more green Europe. The Bauhaus initiative can provide the inspiration that the rescue measures must be based on a strong partnership with the local and regional level. It is also essential that other EU policies such as cohesion policy and also the Horizon program will be used to provide support for making the Bauhaus initiative a success. The territorial investment initiative and the climate neutral missions should be linked to the Bauhaus initiative as well. Last week in our SEDEC commission, we discussed some of these issues with Commissioner Gabriel. We have also adopted a draft opinion on the restart of cultural and creative sectors. One of the main conclusions was that the Bauhaus initiative can play a major role, linked also with the opportunities of the new 2030 urban agenda. There are many examples at local and regional level that could be taken into consideration in the first stage. The Bauhaus spirit can inspire many artists, architects, city planners and designers to come up with new solutions that address the needs of the citizens. The Bauhaus initiative should therefore also be linked to our work on education and mobility of students. And it should inspire young and old. It should break barriers for the disabled and promote equality. As a chair of the SEDEC Commission, I would be delighted to work together with the Joint Research Centre and other partners to promote the Bauhaus spirit in the years to come. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kalalainen, for your very rich contribution. Your call for a true bottom-up approach is well heard, and there are many interesting threads in terms of how we could further develop the idea. I also I'm particularly pleased to start working with the Committee of Regions on the ideas you have formulated for a further engagement with your networks and counterparts. And so count on us to come back to the Committee of Regions and to make this a reality in the coming weeks. Our next speaker is Frédéric Vallier, who has been for the last 10 years the Secretary General of the Council of European Municipalities and Regions. So he has a large and long expertise in terms of local and regional development. So what's your take, Mr. Vallier, on this new European Bauhaus initiative and how your organization and your networks could help us developing the conversation about it? The floor is yours, Mr. Vallier.
Thank you very much, Xavier. Bonjour. Buenos días a todos in Sevilla.
Good morning to you all in Seville.
And congratulating Juan Espada, the mayor of Seville, who is a good friend of CMR, of course. He has been a spokesperson in CMR for quite some years. And his initiatives are always very meaningful. And for us, it's an inspiration to also follow what the city of Seville has done in circular economy with the declaration of Sevilla, who was adopted, I think, a couple of years ago. And I would like also to thank the GRC, with who we have signed recently a memorandum of understanding between CMR and GRC, and we look forward, of course, to work with you on this initiative of the new European Bauhaus that is put forward by the President of the Commission. I will explain a little bit how we see the initiative and how, of course, we could participate in the initiative. In order to make an extensive effort in renovation of buildings, local and regional governments need enabling conditions through appropriate frameworks, resources, and funding. The recognition of the role of local and regional governments through multi-level dialogue is essential, a balanced approach considering related areas and environmental, social and economic dimensions. The renovation wave should particularly benefit to everyone. The high level of energy poverty should be addressed by targeting those who need it most in Europe. The ambition must be accompanied by appropriate funding and financial frameworks, also probably new instruments, particularly considering the alarming situation of local finances throughout Europe with this COVID crisis and the economic crisis that is linked to it. In this respect, we welcome the recovery plan put forward by the European Commission and the reinforced long-term budget of the EU. And we are, of course, sorry that this is put in jeopardy by some national states. But certainly, one thing that is important for us also on the recovery plan is that cities and local and regional governments are involved in the design of the national plans for recovery and the European one. Appropriate legal frameworks respecting local self-government should be also respected, of course, and followed. One of the motto of the Bauhaus School was less is more. We would like to apply this to EU regulations sometimes and their national transpositions as much as possible to ensure that the requirements for local and regional governments to implement and report on the achievements are not too burdensome. Sometimes it can be felt like this by our colleagues in cities and regions. And guidance, expertise, and supporting structures are important. And in this way, I think the Joint Research Center can really be a major help, like it is in the Covenant of Mayors for Energy and Climate, for example. On the new Bauhaus, with its qualitative and sustainable approach, the new European Bauhaus brings the Green Deal closer to citizens and put their well-being at the center. To date, the Council of European Municipalities and Regions has always been a key partner for the development of sustainable urban management, be it by the implication in the preparation of the new Leipzig Charter, which was adopted earlier this week, or in the development of the reference framework for sustainable cities, an online toolkit for local authorities to monitor their own progress in sustainability. The holistic approach seeking sustainability, inclusiveness and quality that is the pillar of the new EU Bauhaus is a perfect continuation of this work. I can say that it reflects how local and regional governments are working on a daily basis, striving to identify, integrate and monitor progress of policy priorities with their fields of action: city planning, economic development, social services, healthcare, environmental policies, education and culture, tourism, public investment. This is what we also like to call the localization process of the United Nations 2030 Agenda and its 17 goals. It notably helps cities and regions link up to the five Ps of the 2030 Agenda together: the cultural dimension for people, good governance for peace, economics and environmental for prosperity and planet, and finally, by connecting the whole range of stakeholders together: business, academia, local and national public administration, urban planners, architects and artists, cities and regions, and truly bring the partnership angle of the Sustainable Development Goals to life from the bottom up. To conclude, I would like to call for a reinforced partnership approach with local and regional governments in the development of the new European Bauhaus. I heard the words of the President of the Commission, and I praise that she is willing to work, of course, with cities, with regions. And I would like to make a proposal, because I saw yesterday that the newly elected President of the United States spent 4 hours discussing with representatives of cities in the US. Well, maybe that's something we should propose to the President of the Commission, to open a dialogue with representatives of local and regional governments in Europe to support the actions that she is leading. Local governments are natural partners to anchor Bauhaus projects in the daily life of the citizens. They serve as laboratories to experiment, promote, and deliver the Green Deal objectives in a practical and tangible manner, paying attention that is benefit to all. We look forward to see this start of this exciting Bauhaus initiatives. And one thing that is also important for us is that in the Bauhaus, in the original Bauhaus concept, the idea was to invent a design that would be affordable, also accessible to all. So I hope this new Bauhaus gives the opportunity to design housing and facilities that are easy to use, users-friendly, if I can say so, and affordable to all. Because sometimes, of course, we know that innovation can be expensive, and certainly in the world where we live now, it is mostly important that we don't leave anyone behind. So again, we look forward to see the start of this exciting initiative, and we believe that it can be a game changer and an essential means for local and regional governments to continue advancing in their transition to a more sustainable economy and society. And I thank you again for your attention, and I say also hello to our friend and spokesperson Sari Rautio, who will speak after me. Thank you very much, and congratulations for this very interesting meeting.
Merci, Monsieur Vallier. Thank you very much for your points. We certainly will take them in mind, including your point on the affordability, which of course is a fundamental dimension of the challenge. We will also take your suggestions to the President. As you've heard in the presentation, it's a project which is very dear to her heart, and she will follow it very closely. So we work on a daily basis with the Cabinet, and so we will make the proposals, so we'll see. Our next speaker is Sari Rautio. So she's sitting in the Committee of Region, but also on a city board in Emelina. And she's the Vice Chair of the Board of Association of Local and Regional Authorities. So again, Mrs. Rautio, what's your take on the new initiative, and what are your suggestions on furthering the conversation? You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. It's really nice to be here, and greetings from the city of Hämeenlinna, which is the oldest Indian city here in Finland. And the question everyone is asking is how do we guarantee a fair world and fair future for everyone if the only thing we know for sure is that everything will change? And I must say that this new initiative, the new Bauhaus, new European Bauhaus, is a great and interesting, inspiring answer and a tool for all of us to work with. What we think here in my city, in the city of Hämeenlinna, and also in Finland altogether, is that we need to work more together. And in order to make this going well, we need more discussion. And the word what we actually need is co-creation. I'm really happy that in this panel, and also the previous one, the word co-creation was mentioned many times, and also good examples of co-creation was pointed out. And I think this is a big change that the COVID-19 crisis has given us. We know that when the world is changing and we are heading all the time different new perspectives, and we have to be quick to react in order to survive, we need everyone. None of us can do everything, but everyone can do something. And we also need the co-creation between cities, between municipalities, but also in different levels, as mentioned already today, and as our panel was actually built, starting from a member from the parliament, and then there was the Committee of the Regions, and also the association, and now on the local level, I present here. And the co-creation between all these different levels. And at the same time, we have to remember the people. We have to participate, everyone. As already Mrs. Karjalainen very nicely put out, it's very important that we don't leave no one, we leave no one behind. And also we have to take into consideration people's different possibilities in joining the discussion. And so, for your answer, as an answer to your question, Mr. Moderator, I think it's very important that we have the discussion not only on these official levels, but also in each and every village, each and every municipality, city, and in different organizations with in the everyday life, so to say. And I think perhaps I'm a bit optimistic, but I think that it's important to understand that everyone's action matters, and we need those small changes in everyday life. Well then, dear everyone, dear Europeans, the strategy of my city, the city of Hämeenlinna, which actually got its name from the castle you can see behind me, in our strategy, we have three main objectives which actually go really well together with the new European Bauhaus. The first objective is well-being active citizens who work together for the better future. The second objective is resource-wise city, very widely thought, ecologically, economically, culturally, and the last but not least, socially sustainable. And of course, when I come from the Nordic country, the social sustainability has been always in our table, so to say. But at the same time, we have to understand that we need the social sustainability in all Europe, and of course also globally. And I think that this new European Bauhaus can be something all Europe can bring to the global world. And we did to solve the big problems we have, the biggest problems we have together. And then the third objectives in the city of Hämeenlinna strategy is a vital city where people love to live. So a big question of the everyday life. And then when we think that the real impact is based on co-creation and collaboration, we have to put it into everything we do in the city. And because the co-creation is the thing that generates solutions and facilitates the direction of actors' resources, we have to combine different resources together, and we need the co-creation also for that. And that is how we've been working here in the city of Hämeenlinna, not only in small things, but also in, for example, urban planning, which is something that considers all of us and people in all different age groups, and also enterprises and everything. And also the cultural co-creation in all ecosystem is very important. Everyone must be involved, as I already mentioned. As an example, we are using also financing in a local level, which could be useful also in this new European Bauhaus, is that you can get money for smaller changes, but you have to always work together with someone else, and all the actions done through this kind of a finance must be open not only to a certain group of people, but to everyone who is interested in that. And of course, the ecological point of view is as well as very important. Here in the city of Hämeenlinna, and I must say in all Finland and all over the Europe, the nature, and it's very important. We have a lot of examples also how the co-creation can be put in when we are thinking about how to use sustainably our forest, how to develop the agriculture, and what Mrs. Karjalainen already mentioned, how important it is that this new European Bauhaus is connected to other European initiatives and also financing mechanisms. From the social point of view, I'd like to point out that we are the first child-friendly city in Finland, and from this perspective, we have been developing the curriculum of sustainable life, which is based on the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think this might be something also that could connect into this new European Bauhaus, to start from the small ones, from the kindergarten, and then going on to school, to preschool, to the preliminary school, high school, and all the way to universities. We are very excited about this idea, so to make more coherent way of studying for all children. And last but not least is, of course, that we definitely believe that if we co-create the sustainable city, socially, ecologically, and culturally aspects taken into consideration, then that creates also the economical sustainability, which is also very important to think about. So, dear moderator, I really think that it's really exciting to be in this discussion, and we need definitely more this kind of official discussions, but then for the most we need discussions in everyday life in all villages, cities and municipalities all around Europe. And I definitely say that we I'm sure in the Committee of the Regions, but in all municipalities, we are really excited to be helping in this throughout our different networks and ecosystems. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rocha, to bring in this debate the local perspective and to show how it connects with global issues. Thank you also for stressing the importance of co-design, co-creation, which is what we are trying to implement around this new European Bauhaus. And thank you also for expressing an interest in helping us to bring these conversations in each city and village across Europe. So it's time for me probably to thank all the panelists. I think we got already quite a rich range of ideas, views about not only what the new European Bauhaus should be, but also at times what it should not be. We had also some concrete suggestions on how to move forward the conversation. On our side, at the Joint Research Center, we are setting up a platform that would allow to harvest ideas, projects, experiences that are relevant for shaping this new European Bauhaus. And so we are looking for partners that are happy to work in organizing, shaping, disseminating conversations about the new European Bauhaus in the coming months. This will help us to get a sense of what is what is the expectation of various actors, what's the value that citizens ultimately can get out of this initiative, and to shape the piloting phase towards the summer. So I look forward, continue to work with you all, and I invite everybody to join and to contact us to see how we can work together. And I think it's time for me to close this panel and to give back the floor to Mayor Espadas for concluding words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to thank the moderators, the participants, for allowing us to look at all of the possible angles afforded by the new European Bauhaus. I believe that today's meeting is one that we'll value in a few years' time as the beginning of a new social and civic movement which will accompany the ambitions consolidated in European projects today. And as has been mentioned today, this new Bauhaus has to accompany all of the decisions that are taken, all of the contributions that are made in different institutions, different governments within the member states, at any level, local or regional, where we have to apply criteria which are embedded in the philosophy underpinning the European Pact, underpinning the new European Bauhaus, which will be deeply rooted in the society, which will allow us to develop this initiative, this project. The European Union is a place in which we participate in constant debate, offering ideas, the idea being to make more Europe. We should never lose any opportunity at any level of government, any entity or any institution, to strive to strengthen the European project. Projects are not just created and maintained by themselves. We have to keep the fire alive by fueling these projects day to day, and we all have to form part of this common project. And I believe that this philosophy, a philosophy that has been put forward by the President of the European Commission to the whole of European society, is a good initiative, so that we are all participants in this common project. On behalf of Seville, we would like to send a message to all of you who have listened to us or followed us online via streaming, and you have my commitment as the Mayor of Seville, and not just to contribute to contributions from Seville to the new Bauhaus movement, but also to coordinate within the scope of the Committee of Regions in any initiatives that we can transfer to all of the institutions that are responsible for carrying out this work, the Joint Research Centre and the European Commission's decisions in the coming months. So we look forward to seeing you here in Seville. And I know that our colleague from the Committee of Regions laid down the baton there about a meeting here in Seville, and I hope that in a few months, sooner than later, we'll be able to meet here in Seville in person, and also bring ourselves up to speed about the progress in this process. So that's our commitment, and I would like to invite you. And also special thanks to the Joint Research Centre team and everyone that's participated in this first reflection on the new European Bauhaus. Thank you very much. We have to continue. We've got a lot to do, but it's worth the efforts. Thank you very much.
By my bed for you, hey now.